Spouses of an identical twin, what was your most embarrassing moment with the other twin? Dated an identical twin in college. At times, they suffered from what some call single personality syndrome. They would do everything together. All decisions were made together. Even simple things. They would wake up in the morning and say, "What are we wearing today?" Just giving some context for the story. As I said, I dated this girl in college. Her and her sister lived together. Now, the entire time we dated, her sister was single. This, more or less, made her sister the third wheel in everything we did as a couple. It was like dating both of them without the perks of dating both of them. I know what you were thinking. One time, the three of us went on a short 4-day cruise in the Caribbean. On the ship, we kind of all did our own thing. One morning, I got up and went to the gym and the girls went to breakfast. When I got back to the room, I saw who I thought was my girlfriend back in the bed. Thinking we had a brief moment of alone time, I climbed in the bed, spooned up behind her, started kissing her neck, and ran my hand up her shirt. She turns her head, and to my horror, I realize that it's her sister and not my girlfriend. I quickly backed away and said, "OMG. I am so sorry." She took it like a champ. She shrugged, smiled, and said, "It was bound to happen at some point." She also alluded to the fact that this might have happened before with guys that came before me. As far as I know, she never told my girlfriend, and I sure as shit was not going to tell her. Plot twist, it was your girlfriend. That was a test, and that's why she broke it off. You didn't tell her. Turns out there was only one all along, and she was just really fast. My husband and his identical twin were wearing similar clothes and they looked the same from behind. I hugged the wrong one. Awkward, but in the end not a huge deal. A bit off topic but similar story. We're obviously not identical twins, but I looked a lot like a friend of mine when we were in our teens. Same height, same haircut, similar build. We were at some gathering once when someone came up behind me and slapped me. I turned around to see this old geezer I'd never encountered before in my life looking smug for a second, until he realized I wasn't his nephew. I'm a twin. We've both had our bums grabbed by the other's boyfriends before. Not as twin myself, but my brother and I look a lot alike. To the point, when we were in our 20s, that people mistook us for each other. I was out visiting my brother and his wife. We were getting back from a day trip and his wife said she's going to take a bath, in a way that it was obvious to me that she wanted him to join her. Well, we go inside. I start emptying the car and taking stuff back into the kitchen when I hear my sister-in-law right behind me say, "So I guess I'm taking my bath alone." I just stand there trying not to laugh before answering, "I think you have the wrong brother." She and I both burst out loud laughing. Still awkward, but it was funny. I know a guy married to a twin who went to stay with his wife's family one Christmas. They were all rushing around trying to get ready to go to a Christmas party, and unbeknownst to him, his wife told his sister-in-law to use the shower in their room because all of the other showers in the house were taken. My friend hears the shower, figures it's his wife, and decides to speed things up, so he strips down and hops in the shower. Apparently there was much screaming and confusion, and my friend almost killed himself scrambling to get out of the shower when he realized it wasn't his wife. My twin fucked my girlfriend. He later fucked the woman I thought I wanted to marry. We haven't spoken in 5 years, but he comes up in conversation a lot, like in awkward small talk when the clerk or the train ticket guy asks what brother I am and proceeds to ask how he is. Wow, that sucks, dude. You have a literal evil twin. My sympathies. My mum's a twin. I've caught her waving to mirrors in clothing stores a number of times thinking her sister is also there. In my younger years, I'd often run to my auntie when I wanted to ask my mum something. Especially when she was at our house making coffee in the kitchen, or something. A guy I work with has a twin brother who lives across the country. He took a video when he introduced his 2-year-old son to his twin brother for the first time. The moment that kid saw his uncle, his eyes just got huge and he kept looking back and forth. You could see his tiny brain explode and then he just started crying. Not my most embarrassing moment, but something close. I frequent a bar every week. All the servers know me and know my husband, who doesn't come every week but comes enough that our regular waitress knows who he is. One evening, husband's identical twin brother and 8-month pregnant wife go to the bar for dinner. Cue several servers giving them some intense side eye and pretty terrible, downright rude service. Brother-in-law says something like, "Huh, that's weird. Twin always says they have the best service here. Pretty sure Idlember comes every week," to his wife. His wife starts laughing and comments to the server, "Hey, I think you know my husband's twin and his wife. They come here every week." The service greatly improved after that. So my ex-girlfriend and her twin shared a place. I thought my ex was in the shower. The shower had opaque doors on it, so you couldn't really see who was inside the shower, but you could still see a silhouette of a woman that looked just like your girlfriend at the time. Anyway, I just got there to their home and had to use the bathroom. I rushed in, did a number 2 with all the bells and whistles. She slid open the shower door and said, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" My jaw just dropped to the ground. I was speechless. Thankfully I was done. Turns out my ex was in the backyard sitting by the pool. My granddad was an identical twin. He was in the Irish Army. His twin Eddie was not in the army. Eddie's daughter got a tattoo of Eddie on her leg. It's a big tattoo of him in his full army uniform. Nobody has the heart to tell her it's not her dad. I have twin uncles, and one of their wives suggested to the other wife that they should switch beds that night and see if the twins noticed. The other wife looked at her and burst out laughing and had to explain that's not how the look-alike thing worked. I taught twins. I didn't notice I was teaching twins for a month. In my defense, I can't see faces well and everyone looks the same. My mother has an identical twin, my aunt obviously, so this is a story about my aunt's spouse. Apparently Scent, among many other things, has a genetic component, so an oddity we discovered in my childhood is that our family dog, a cute miniature schnauzer, was completely unable to tell my mother and my aunt apart. When my aunt would come over to visit, our dog would walk in the room, look back and forth between them and just whine for a while. The world was apparently very confusing when there were 2 human mommies. On the plus side, this meant when we went out of town we could just leave our dog with my aunt and the dog settled in perfectly happy. The location was strange, but human mommy was there, so everything was all right. Right up until my uncle tried to get in bed with his wife. Then our dog would immediately growl, bark and try to drive away the intruder with all his miniature might. My aunt thought it was hysterical, but for some reason my uncle didn't find this quite as funny. My mom is a twin and her poodle loves everyone. But she can't stand my mom's twin. Barks, growls, hides and bites. Only person she does this with. And my aunt is a dog person. Dogs love her. When I was 17, I dated one from a set of identical twin girls. Their parents were of the school of thought that one must have one of whatever the other had. So as a consequence, and completely predictable, they would pretend to be the other for fun. We were swimming at a lake near the town we lived in, and they showed up in identical bathing suits, jewelry, purses, flip-flops, towels, cell phones, watches, and food. We started swimming, and as teenagers are absolutely disgusting, started to fool around. I thought I was kissing my girlfriend when she laughed, pulled away, and said, "You're right, he does use too much tongue." My budding erection vanished in embarrassment, and I was so confused I wouldn't touch either of them until they agreed to drink different beverages so I could keep track. My girlfriend wasn't mad, and in ass sight being 2020 I should have just gone with it. But I did not. I left as soon as possible because they kept alternately teasing me, in a physical sort of way, and then changing drinks. Teenage me couldn't handle that kind of pressure. You reached the promised land? And you left? Teenagers are dumb. Yes, I left, told my friends, and was mocked mercilessly for years afterwards. Like I am not a great physical specimen. I'm too skinny, I have those John Mulaney eye bags, I'm terrified of people. My only redeeming quality is when people get to know me, they think I'm funny, which is in its own way too much pressure. So in retrospect it's not at all surprising I would chicken the fuck out. Oh my gosh, let me tell you. This is a long one, so please bear with me. So, first off, I almost never mistake them. To me, they look completely different, and I know, mine is the one with the attractively shaped head. However, maybe once or twice in the past, I got mixed up. The worst time happened in the school library freshman year of college. I had been dating my guy, who we'll call Brent, for 4 months. His identical twin, Ron, had been dating this girl Sarah for just a couple weeks. I'm walking into the library to meet Brent for dinner when I run into Sarah. We say hi, have a chat, and just as she's turning to leave she mentions that she saw my guy in the second floor computer labs. So I head up the stairs and see Brent sitting at one of the computers, when all of a sudden I'm hit with a revelation. Brent is not nearly as good looking as I remembered. I get a bit of a sinking feeling, and as I get closer, my fears are confirmed. I am no longer attracted to Brent. His skin seems more olive in hue, his haircut is strange, and his head is oddly asymmetric. 4 months is a long time, and I figured the fire had died in me since I saw him last. But whatever, I tell myself to suck it up. Brent is a great guy, and I shouldn't be so shallow. Looks aren't everything, right? Brent sees me and I give him a little wave, and he kind of just stares back at me? Weird. I pull up a chair and start talking with him about his day, being all friendly and girlfriend-like, but Brent is giving me nothing in return. All of his answers are short, and he seems almost confused by our interaction. He also doesn't seem to remember that I had a big test that day, that I had been stressing about all month, because he didn't even ask how it went. I start to get a little upset. Sure, I can handle dating a guy with a potato head, but not a guy who can't engage with me socially. I figure maybe he's having a bad day, so I ask if he wants to go for a walk around the library. He say, I guess, but that's kind of weird. At that response I think, what a fact, Brent. We've been dating for 4 months. This is not a weird thing to do together. I decide I need a second to collect myself, because his behavior is really off-putting. I tell him I'm going to return a book on the first floor. And so, I do what any girlfriend would do when she's about to leave. I put my hand on his knee and kind of lean in for a kiss. Brent's eyes go big and he starts slowly leaning away from me. I stop and have a second horrible revelation. In high school I dated a guy who happened to be gay. He didn't really know it yet, but I figured it out when I went to kiss him and he leaned away from me. Just like Brent did. Oh God. I am very flustered at this point, so I get up and immediately head downstairs. This is all just too much for me. In 10 minutes I went from dating a great man to having to break up with a socially awkward, potentially gay, man with a misshapen head. I am lamenting my terrible position when I see Ron sitting in a chair on the first floor. He's reclining with a book in his hand, leisurely leaning back and stretching out his long legs. A whispered thought crossed my mind. Ron looks really good today. I shake it off, and decided to talk with him. Maybe something happened to Brent that I don't know about. Maybe Brent is upset about something, and that's why he's being so quiet. Or maybe he was hit in the head with a baseball, and that's why his personality is different, and the left side of his head is a little flatter than the right. Ron sees me and enthusiastically says hello. Now, I don't remember exactly what happened next, but we started talking. I remember thinking how much easier it was to talk with Ron, and wondering why Brent wasn't like that. At some point I mentioned that Brent is on the second floor. Ron suddenly looks confused. He stops and says, "But I'm Brent." I look at him and laugh. I think, how can that possibly be? Ha ha ha, wait, oh my God. That's when I have my third horrible revelation. I swear, what happened next was like a special effect in a movie. Ron's face almost transforms in front of me. His cheekbones come into clearer focus. His eyes become rounder, peachiness returns to his cheeks, and his forehead becomes a nicely formed rectangle. I think I had been mentally overlaying Ron's features onto Brent's face, allowing my eyes to trick my mind into believing the eye was seeing what I thought I was seeing. I realized that this, Ron, was actually my Brent, and that Sarah had mistakenly told me, my guy, was on the second floor. I started laughing, because I couldn't believe what just happened. I told Brent all about the strange conversation I had with Ron, when I suddenly remembered that I had tried to kiss him. Oops. I got up and ran to the second floor to see Ron. He was standing in the computer lab, bag in hand, ready to go on the most uncomfortable walk with his brother's crazy girlfriend. Ron looked a little nervous and he said that he was willing to go on a walk with, but that he'd prefer to stay in the school's library, presumably because there were many people who could help him if I tried any more moves. I laughed and said, "I have a boyfriend," and left. Anyway, Brent and I just got engaged, and I haven't confused them since. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.